That feeling of being adrift, wondering if you're on the right path, it hits almost everyone at some point.
Oh, absolutely. That sense of searching.
Yeah, maybe you feel like you haven't quite found your thing, or maybe you're juggling so many interests you just can't commit.
We're just questioning if where you are now is, well, really it.
Exactly. If any of that sounds familiar, you're definitely in the right place today.
It's such a universal experience,
Mm.
especially now with like endless possibilities. It feels even stronger sometimes.
It really does. So today we're diving into a framework for, well, navigating this. It's drawn from the work of a Japanese best-selling author, Yagi Jinpei.
Ah, yes, his book, The World's Simplest Way to Find What You Want to Do. Big hit back in 2021.
Right. A self-understanding method to free yourself from life's that's misery or confusion. And what's really compelling is his personal journey.
The backstory is quite something, isn't it?
It is. Get this. Yagi was actually fired from a convenience store job. Apparently, he struggled with the repetitive tasks.
Which is wild, considering he was a top student.
I know. It really shows that, academic smarts don't always translate everywhere.
Mm-hmm. It makes you think about how different our strengths really are. Completely different areas.
It does. But then his story takes another turn. He becomes a super successful blogger making like over 1 million yen a month.
Wow. Okay, so financial success sorted.
You'd think. But even then, he still felt a lack of direction, like the life goals weren't there. And that feeling pushed him to research self-discovery, which led to this book.
So it came from a real place of feeling lost himself, even with success.
Exactly. So our mission here in this deep dive is to pull out the core ideas from Yagi's approach. Hopefully help you, our listener, get some clarity on your own life road.
And one of the first things Yagi emphasizes is that just working hard, it's not the whole picture.
Right. Effort needs direction.
Precisely.
Hmm.
Making the right choices about where you put that energy, that's what leads to a fulfilling life, according to him, not just sheer effort.
It's smart navigation, not just paddling harder. And to help us get our bearings, Yagi starts by kind of knocking down some common myths about finding your way.
Yeah, some ideas we all sort of absorb.
The first one is this idea that you need to pick one single path, for your entire life.
Which feels so rigid, doesn't it?
Yeah.
Especially now. He argues that's pretty outdated.
Totally.
Yeah,
Society, work, it all changes so fast.
exactly. The reality is we'll probably navigate multiple phases, make several big choices. Like Yagi himself did, his life wasn't one straight line.
It's less like a fixed destination, more like a journey with different legs. Okay, another big one. The love at first sight idea for your passion.
Yes, the lightning bolt moment where you just know.
Yeah. But Yagi says, well, finding your path often isn't that sudden. It's not always instantly fun or something you're already amazing at.
It can be more of a slow burn, something that unfolds gradually as you explore it.
A slow dawning, not a flash. Okay, then there's the idea that your life road has to be something, society values, something impressive or high status.
Right, and he really pushes back on that. External validation, sure, it might be nice, but the primary thing is, does it resonate with you?
Is it meaningful to you first?
Exactly. That intrinsic motivation, your own sense of purpose, that's the driver, not just applause from others,
It's about tuning into your internal compass first. He also tackles that feeling of being stuck, like you have zero options.
which is so common. But what's interesting is he flips it. He argues that feeling often isn't real.
What, you mean we do have options?
Often, yeah. He says the real problem is usually the opposite. We're swamped with too many possibilities. It leads to what he calls choice paralysis.
Oh, I get that. Like standing in front of a buffet with way too much food, you just freeze.
Exactly that analogy. The sheer variety makes it impossible to choose. So it feels like no options, but it's actually overload.
That makes sense. Counterintuitive, but yeah. And finally, the idea that your life road must equal a high-paying job.
He's clear on this. Your
Mhm.
path isn't just your job title or your salary. Passion, fulfillment, those are key.
Earning potential is kind of a separate thing.
Yeah, it's influenced by the market, by what society needs right now. But your life road could involve things that don't make much money, or any money at all, but are deeply fulfilling.
Okay, so we've cleared the decks of some common misconceptions. How do we actually start finding this road, then? Yagi says the key is setting up personal criteria, filters.
Precisely. When you've got tons of options, you need a system to sift through them. Otherwise, you just get lost.
He uses that dessert analogy, right? If you decide sweet first, then maybe red.
You narrow it down fast.
Yeah.
Sweet and red. Maybe strawberries, maybe cherry pie. Already much easier than looking at everything.
And that same idea, filtering by criteria, applies to bigger things too.
Absolutely. Choosing where to live, you filter by budget, location, size. Even tricky relationship decisions often come down to understanding your core needs, your non-negotiables. Those are your criteria.
Okay, that makes a lot of sense. But where do these criteria come from? How do we know what our filter should be?
Well, that's the core of it. According to Yagi, they come from understanding yourself.
Self-understanding. Sounds simple, but
It's surprisingly tricky, isn't it?
Yeah.
Many people struggle with it. There can be a real disconnect between how we see ourselves and how others see us.
yeah, like when everyone else can see a situation isn't right for you, but you're totally blind to it.
Exactly. And even our own grasp of what we truly need can be fuzzy, you know? It gets clouded by temporary wants or what we think we should want.
So our internal compass isn't always pointing true north.
Not always. And Yagi specifically warns against using just your wishes and ideals, like your big dreams, as the main criteria for choices.
Why not? Aren't dreams important?
They are, but he argues that basing decisions only on idealized wishes often leads to disappointment. It's like his celebrity crush analogy: admiring someone intensely doesn't mean building your life around trying to be them is a good strategy.
Okay, so wishes alone aren't the foundation. They're part of it, but not the base. So what should be the foundation? What's the hierarchy?
He proposes a clear order. At the very bottom, the bedrock, are your values.
Values, like your principles, your standards.
Exactly what you genuinely believe is important, what you will and won't do, your non-negotiables. Like, do you prioritize financial security above all, or is personal meaning more critical? Knowing that is your fundamental compass.
Okay, values first. What's the next level up?
Next up are your talents and abilities, your innate strengths.
The things you're naturally good at.
Yes, the things that often come relatively easily to you. And Yagi makes a key point here. We often overlook these because they feel natural.
Right, the fish doesn't notice the water thing.
Precisely. And then at the top of the hierarchy are your wishes and dreams.
Your aspirations, what you want to achieve or experience.
Yes. But he places them at the top, suggesting they should ideally align with your values underneath and leverage the talents you have.
Got it. So, values foundation, talents built on that, and wishes guided by both. Makes sense. Okay, let's dig into identifying these. How do we figure out our values? Yagi has questions for this, right?
He does. 5 key questions. And he really emphasizes writing down the answers. Don't just think about them,
Why write them down?
because when you see the words, you can analyze them. Look for recurring themes, keywords. That's how you spot your core values. Okay, question 1. Who do you genuinely respect or admire?
Okay. And the follow-up?
Crucially, why? What specific qualities in them do you admire? What is it about them?
Makes sense. Question 2.
Think back to your formative years, like adolescence. What significant events impacted you? How did they change your thinking or what you hold important?
Okay. Digging into the past. Third question.
Look around you at society or your immediate environment. What bugs you? What do you feel needs improvement? And importantly, what would your ideal version look like?
Interesting. Focusing on dissatisfaction to find values. Fourth.
This one involves asking others. Ask people who know you well. What do they think you value most? What seems important to you based on how you live and talk?
Getting that outside perspective could be revealing. And the fifth question for values.
What advice do you find yourself giving to others? Or flip it. What kind of advice do you really hate receiving or just doesn't resonate with you at all?
Okay. That reveals what principles you operate by.
Exactly. So you answer these 5, write it all down, and then you look for those patterns. Maybe words like freedom or connection or mastery keep popping up. Those are clues to your core values. He even suggests AI could potentially help sift through the text for themes.
Fascinating. Okay, values identified. Next level up. Talents and abilities. He has 5 questions here too, but with a twist about innate talent.
Yes, this is interesting. He talks about how true talents are often these non-ability factors, things that are almost effortless, maybe even linked to genetics or just how you're wired.
Not just skills you learn, like typing or coding.
Not primarily, no.
Yeah.
He means things like maybe you have natural charisma or a great memory, or you're just physically coordinated, or maybe even like good digestion contributing to steady energy, things we often don't even think of as skills.
Huh. And society maybe downplays these.
Sometimes, yeah. Or we're told everyone can learn anything, which isn't quite true when it comes to innate aptitude. He mentions that study about more conventionally attractive people often earning more. It shows these non-ability factors can have real-world impact.
Right. So, what are the 5 questions to unearth these hidden talents?
Okay, first, think about a time you felt really in the zone, fulfilled, successful, things just flowed. What exactly were you doing?
Finding those moments of effortless performance. Second question.
This one's good. What recently made you feel impatient with someone else? Specifically, because they were struggling with something you find easy.
Ooh, that's clever. Impatience reveals aptitude.
Often, yes. If you get frustrated because someone just doesn't get basic design principles, maybe you have a natural eye for aesthetics. It points to your natural ease in that area.
Yeah.
But it's different from a learned skill like, say, Messi's dribbling that took practice but built on incredible innate talent.
Got it. Innate ease versus learned proficiency. Third talent question.
Again, ask people around you, what do they think you're naturally good at? They might say things like, you always know the right thing to say, or you have a real knack for figuring out directions. Things you might dismiss.
Things you take for granted. Fourth question.
This taps into motivation. If you didn't have to do your current job, what would you genuinely want to spend your time doing? Not necessarily for money, just what would you do?
What pulls you, regardless of obligation?
Okay? And the fifth talent question.
Look back at your life. What have you actually accomplished? Big things, small things, doesn't matter. What successes have you had? What patterns emerge?
Reflecting on past achievements to see where your talents showed up.
Exactly. And again, synthesize the answers. Look for keywords. And he adds that important point. Sometimes perceived weaknesses are just the flip side of a strength.
Like being slow to react might mean you're highly focused.
Precisely. Slow processing could equal deep concentration. Don't just focus on the good stuff. Look at your traits neutrally. That's a really helpful way to look at it. Okay, finally, the top of the hierarchy. Wishes and dreams. What are the 5 questions here? And the key is genuine enjoyment, right?
Absolutely. Yagi stresses this shouldn't just be about a sense of purpose or external rewards like money or status. That's different.
So, my dream is to be rich isn't really a dream in his framework.
He'd probably classify a strong desire for wealth as closer to a value, valuing security or freedom. A true dream, he says, is something you'd find joy in pursuing, even if no one paid you or praised you for it.
Like the dream of being a doctor. If it's only for prestige, maybe it's not your true wish.
Yeah, exactly. It needs that intrinsic pull.
Mm.
Okay, so the 5 questions. First, what are you willing to actually spend your own money on to learn more about?
Where does your curiosity lead your wallet? Makes sense. Second,
Look at your bookshelf or your browser history. What kinds of books do you buy? What topics do you research just for fun in your downtime?
what naturally grabs your attention? Third question,
Think about content books, movies, videos, articles that had a really significant, positive, maybe even redemptive impact on you. Something that changed your perspective.
like a book that helped you through a tough time, maybe?
Could be. Like maybe reading The Courage to be Disliked really shifted things for someone. What content deeply resonated? Fourth, gratitude. Are there specific people or events in your life you feel really grateful for? Why? This can point towards things you deeply value and aspire to.
Interesting connection. And the 5th question for dreams.
This one links back to values, but maybe on a bigger scale. What frustrates or angers you about the world right now?
Like big issues, world peace, the environment.
Could be big things, yeah. Or even smaller things that represent a larger principle, like maybe getting mad about people blocking intersections reflects a deep desire for order and consideration. The frustration points to a desire for something better.
So your anger can reveal your aspirations for how things should be.
That's the idea. Find the recurring themes across these answers. Those point towards your genuine passions and maybe your ultimate goals.
Okay, wow. So we've gone through the 15 questions exploring values, talents, and dreams. We have all this self-knowledge, hopefully. How do we actually use it to make choices, to find that life road?
Right. Connecting the dots. Yagi suggests starting by looking for the overlap between your dreams and your talents.
Where do they intersect?
Yeah. How could your natural abilities be used to move towards something that genuinely excites you? So, if your dream involves making communities safer, and you have a talent for problem solving or communication, what does that suggest?
Maybe careers like urban planning or community policing or designing safety tech?
Exactly. Brainstorm possibilities that sit at that intersection of what you enjoy dreaming about and what you're naturally good at. Get creative here.
Okay, brainstorm based on dreams plus talents. Then what?
Then comes the crucial filter. Run those possibilities through your values.
The foundation we identified first.
Absolutely. Any option, no matter how well it matches your talents and dreams, if it fundamentally clashes with your core values, you discard it.
So, if you brainstormed a path that requires lots of public speaking, but a core value is privacy or quiet reflection, that path might not be sustainable.
Probably not. Or, if you value autonomy highly, a job with very rigid rules and constant oversight, even if it uses your talents towards a dream, is likely going to cause friction. Your values act as the ultimate gatekeeper.
It's a process of alignment then. Use talents for dreams, but only in ways that honor your values.
That's a great way to put it. And, importantly, Yagi reminds us this isn't necessarily about finding the final answer for life.
Right, because things change.
Exactly. Circumstances change, technology changes. Think about translators or coders facing AI, and even you might change. Your values might evolve as you have new life experiences.
So it's an ongoing process of checking in.
Yes. Adaptability, ongoing self-reflection. They're key. This method gives you a way to navigate now, but you might need to revisit it later.
Which really brings us back to the core principle underlying all of this.
Self-understand.
Yeah, that seems to be the absolute heart of Yagi's method, and really any sensible approach to figuring things out.
It really is. So much feeling lost comes from simply not knowing ourselves well enough, not understanding our own values, overlooking our talents, chasing dreams that aren't truly ours.
And when you lack that self-awareness, it's easy to feel adrift, or even worthless like Yagi initially did after that convenience store job.
But working on that self-understanding helps you see your unique configuration, the value you do possess. Everyone has their own unique talents and values.
Okay, so let's quickly summarize. Yagi Jinpei's framework, his simplest way, really boils down to understanding three key parts of yourself: your core values, your natural talents, and your authentic dreams or wishes.
And those 15 questions, 5 for each area, provide a really practical, accessible starting point for that self-exploration.
They seem simple on the surface, but digging into them honestly, that could be pretty profound.
Definitely. Taking that time for real introspection, writing it down, looking for the patterns, it can give you incredibly valuable insights. Insights into what drives you, what you naturally excel at, and what you truly aspire to.
So here's a final thought for you listening. What's
Yeah.
one small step, just one thing you can maybe do today to start exploring your answers?
Maybe just pick one category, values, talents, or dreams, and tackle one or two of those 5 questions. No pressure to figure it all out at once.
Yeah, just start jotting down some initial thoughts. Remember, this whole self-discovery thing, it's a journey, right? Not a destination. The insights will likely keep evolving.